Everyone, I will call the Paulding County Board of Commissioners work session for May the 28th to order at this time. And just welcome everyone. It's good to be able to resume citizen participation and attendance while we continue. As you can see on film, the distancing and observing the 10-person rule. But it's great to have a couple of citizens in here, Richard Grant, Kirsten Liberty. And I'll ask Brian if he'll bring the list forward. Thanks, sir. And as is our tradition, we'll stand if we're able, and I'll lead us in a prayer. I got a little quote here from St. Augustine, which I like this morning. Trust the past to God's mercy, the present to God's love, and the future to God's providence. I like that. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, thank you for this new day that we rejoice in it and consider it a gift from you. We just pray for our county and our state and our nation that we can overcome the pandemic effects and return to normalcy and be with those families that have suffered through the illness or even death in this situation. Thank you for our law enforcement and first responders in the county and all our other departments that have continued to work hard during this trial and during this event. We just thank you for your love and your mercy and grace and pray for your wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The May 11th, 2020 called meeting, the minutes of that meeting are available for review. We have a couple of announcements this morning. I'm going to call first on County Administrator Frank Baker to update us on the COVID-19 response and the latest efforts there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, we had a couple of major events that occurred for us as we have been preparing for a reopening. On May the 18th, we reopened the admin building, and also at that point we opened up the elections section because early voting started on that particular day. So with the help of our members of Team Paulding, our Marshal Service, and other departments have helped us. We've gotten people through the line to get their tags and to do other county business. We're still open for services, but the building was closed until then. Last Thursday, we were able to go ahead and reopen a portion of the parks. The structures of the parks remain closed, but we have opened the ball fields. No scrimmages, games, or tournaments are allowed, but we've opened the ball fields for the citizens to use, and we've opened the outside restrooms for the citizens to use in addition to the tennis courts. Again, the inside facilities remain closed, and we are working towards when we can reopen those. Part of the park system is also the libraries as part of cultural affairs. They remain closed, but I'd like to announce for those folks that don't know, we started a virtual checkout system on Tuesday of this week. And the citizens can go online or they can call the library and talk with them about checking out some books, and they'll make them available for pickup outside when they arrive at the library. So we've been doing that, and I talked to Michael Justice this morning, our Parks Director, and he says, again, it's been going on since Tuesday. So we're pleased to offer that. We are currently continuing to watch what West Georgia Regional System is doing since we're a part of that, and so that would be one of our next steps is to try to get those libraries reopened. That's about it, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Thanks, sir. Announcement number 2 will come from our Chief Appraiser, Mr. James Stokes, regarding the 2020 assessment notices that went out, and provide us a little education on that front. Thank you, James.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for letting me come to you today. And sorry for the short notice on getting on the agenda. We did send assessment notices on May 22nd. As some of you may have noticed, we sent a little over 68,000 notices. We started receiving phone calls Tuesday afternoon. Some of the biggest questions that we're getting right now is, number one, I haven't received my notice. My neighbor did. You can go on the assessor's website, get copies of the notices. We have 4 years worth of notices on our website. Who should you call if you've got a question? We've got a hotline set up, 770-505-1362. We've got 23 staff members waiting and yielding calls each and every day. You can email us questions at assessors@paulding.gov. We'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Our goal is to answer every single email, every phone call the same day. We have information on our web for things that are contained in that notice. We have it on the paulding.gov website. We have it on the Assessors Q Public website. Everything from detailed information, sale information, historic information. We're also receiving calls, can I come in and sit down with somebody? Absolutely. As Mr. Baker pointed out earlier, today the courthouse is now open. The public is limited to 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We have social distancing in mind. We have 4 different stations set up. They're cleaned regularly throughout the day. We'll be glad to sit down with anybody, go over any questions that they may have. Is there a deadline? Yes, there is a deadline. If you disagree with that assessment notice, by all means, file your appeal on or before July 6th at 5 p.m. That is required by Georgia law. You don't have to come in to file an appeal. You can send an appeal through assessors@paulding.gov. We'll be glad to do that. We do them by fax, however you mail, however you want to give them to us. There's also something that I'd like to point out to all the commissioners is we've added something additional to our website. Anybody that goes to the Paulding Q Public website where you can look up all the detailed property information, if you look down on that left-hand side, you'll see a little button called My Tax Dollars. If you click on that where it says My Tax Dollars, that shows what an estimated tax bill is, and then it breaks it down for your schools, the county, fire, so forth and so on. It further breaks it down and explains each one of those categories, what is inside that. And then it breaks it further down into your county's operating budget. How much is first responders? How much is court system? How much is DOT? That is probably one of our biggest ongoing question is where do my tax dollars go? What am I paying for? So I'm really happy that that was actually Finance's idea to add that to our website, because that's one of their biggest questions that they have, and that was a pretty easy fix to add in to what we already have going on. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I think it'd be a point of clarity that a lot of people don't understand is our board of assessors, that you don't work for this board. You've got your own board, and you're also hired by them.
Correct. The Board of Commissioners actually appoint the Board of Assessors. They're an independent body separate from the commissioners. They're my boss. Each year they appoint a chief appraiser and they appoint a secretary. I do manage the staff of 23, but ultimately those guys have to make sure our property information is in compliance with Georgia law.
Excellent brief, James, and I think the public service that you provide our citizens is commendable.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have no invited guests today under bid awards. We have an award of construction for a detour and the replacement of 2 culverts on Swan Drive over Davis Mill Creek and Davis Mill Creek tributary to the low bidder Summit Construction and Development LLC in the amount of $548,278.75 located in Post 3. Ms. Pollard and Mr. Jones will answer questions for us.
Good morning. Mr. Jones is going to give you more details about the specific project. My job here today is just to let you know that we advertised this project for 4 weeks. We accepted bids on May 15th, and we received 3. Those bids ranged from $548,278.75 to $1,606,760, and DOT has reviewed the bids, and we're recommending award to the low bidder.
Good morning. I get to talk to you about the fun stuff, the details. So, hey, like Ms. Pollard had said, finance had bid this project out. This project is located in Post 3. However, the detour for this route also encompasses a portion of Post 2. The last special called meeting that we had on the 11th, the culverts themselves were purchased, the materials for those culverts. This portion of the bid award is for the construction and installation of these culverts and the associated road work that goes along with it. On Swan Drive in the Carrington Point subdivision itself, there are 2 water crossings where the existing structures are multi-barrel 72-inch and 84-inch rigid metal pipes. Those pipes are deteriorating, rotted out, and they're also unable to accommodate the design flow. Back in 2009, we had the flooding. Those locations were actually overtopped, stranding some of those residents inside because there's not another way to get out on Swan Drive. We looked at concrete bridges for the construction of this. However, when we bid out concrete bridges, the low bid cost was $2.05 million, which was way more than what we can afford and is way more than is sustainable as a department for this type of a roadway. We looked at other ways to provide water crossings that were efficient and could also accommodate the design flow. And in consultation with our design engineer, we came up with the idea of using aluminum arch culverts. We've used those on a couple other locations within the county, on Quail Ridge Drive and on School Road, with good success. The aluminum culverts themselves are durable, cost-effective compared to bridges, have a much less of a construction time, and they also last quite a bit longer than traditional rigid corrugated metal pipes. I think aluminum structures have a lifespan between at least 50 to 75 years, and the manufacturer has provided data where those structures can last up to 100 years. The structures themselves are 59 feet in length, 30 feet wide, and 7 foot deep. So we have not used Summit before. However, they are GDOT pre-qualified. In addition, Summit is the contractor that is working on the Bakers Bridge Road, Doris Road, Sweetwater Church Road, High Point Road intersection project that we have partnered with Douglas County for the construction of. The total cost of the structure and the installation of the structure and associated road work for this project is $848,602, which is within our original estimated cost. This adds up to savings of over $1.2 million compared to the concrete bridges that we had originally looked at. We have a 9-month completion date from the issuance of the notice to proceed for this project, and I'm going to request that a combination of general funds and stormwater funds be used pay for the expenses of this project. And I think that's pretty much it. So I can answer any questions if you may have any.
Covered a lot of information there, George. Thank you much.
You did, but now you may have said this, but we don't have to do the detour anymore, correct?
There is going to be a detour as part of this project because we
okay.
are going to build these structures on alignment. So yes, we're going to have to go on to eventually Davis Mill south to do it. So that's where post 2 comes into play. That's part of the detour route. I think one side of Davis Mill is post 2 and the other side is post 3. So yes.
Kind of cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
George, how long does the concrete ones last? Or
I believe AASHTO, the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, look at about a 75-year design. I think some people can say 100-year. Again, it depends on the loads, the maintenance. Even concrete bridges, they have steel inside them. They can rot out and rust out. You need rehabilitation. So I think it's comparable, but especially when it comes to the cost of these structures, this is just a much more viable method for us to provide access and flow. You're welcome.
And if I may, I wanted to add a point. The original design of this, with the bridge structures in mind, was a separate alignment with the bridges built offline of the existing road. So part of the savings, and George, correct me if I don't get this right, part of the savings is to build the culverts in the existing alignment where the road is. So that saved a good bit of road work, but it does require that temporary detour. So rather than a permanent realignment, we have a temporary detour, so that's part of the savings, just to make sure we understand. Is that right, George?
It is.
All right, thank you.
However, the thing, these aluminum structures, they can be built much faster than a concrete bridge, so that'll reduce the amount of time that this detour is in place.
Thanks, both of you. Well, we have no reports today from committees and departments. No one is signed up to speak on agenda items. Under the consent agenda, consideration of these items to approve the renaming of a portion of Chestnut Drive to Chester Harris Drive North in Post 4, and to declare the 11 items listed as surplus and to approve their disposal through auction or trade. That list of 11 items is available on the table in the back. I'm not going to read all those with the long serial numbers. I would like to point out that and give credit to Fleet Maintenance for the excellent job that they do, and Tim Atchison's leadership as the director out there. There are 6 of these pieces of equipment, and there's 2 vehicles and then different types of equipment, which is, again, credit to them that they can work on that variety of equipment. But 6 that are over 20 years old. So to maintain and keep those pieces of equipment serviceable for this long, I think deserves recognition. There is one misprint on DOT unit number 132. Instead of the year being 2020, it's 2002, and it's a Freightliner FL70. Would any of the commissioners like to move either of these two agenda items to regular business? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business that we have none. And new business is discuss action to authorize the chairman to enter into a supplemental agreement with Heath and Lineback Engineers Incorporated in the amount of $83,816.67. This is post 3, and Mr. Jones is going to report.
Yes, sir. Georgia Department of Transportation originally contacted Paulding DOT back in early 2018 with an offer of off-system safety funding to be put towards a intersection that would meet their criteria in terms of improving safety. There was money available that they had. We proposed the intersection of Burnt Hickory Road, Stout Parkway, Brownsville Extension as a potential safety project. There was a amount of right angle crashes that happened at this intersection when it was a 2-way stop controlled intersection. Burnt Hickory was the free flow street, Stout Parkway and Brownsville Extension were the stop controlled streets. GDOT did accept this as a candidate for the off-system safety program, and we went on with that. As part of that, the Board of Commissioners approved entering into a contract with Heath and Lineback Engineers for the design services of this intersection project in the amount of $119,669.62 in early 2018. We eventually came to the conclusion through analysis that a roundabout design was the best method to improve the safety and flow of this intersection. Once we had started this process, GDOT informed us that instead of off-system safety funding money that was going to be used for their portion, it was actually going to be a different pot of funding, which would actually have to take us through the federal process. We would have to follow those guidelines, GDOT plan development process. That is a little more work. It's following the federal process takes additional time, and they look at additional criteria. It's a little more in-depth than what we do typically on our project. So all that work basically added additional money that needed to be added to this contract to take care of all that criteria. The additional work includes items such as environmental surveys, concept reports, approved traffic evaluations, location and design analysis, historical and ecological. I can go on for hours, but I think you get the idea. It just adds a substantial amount of effort and work into the process to get an approved project. So with that in mind, we need additional funds to complete the preliminary engineering for this project in the amount of $83,816.67. This supplemental amount plus the initial amount will add up to a total of $203,486.29. This is still a good deal for the county because we're getting $1.09 million to fund the construction of this project. So without that construction funding, this project would have waited until we had that amount of money on hand. So we've been able to accelerate the timetable of this project with the help of GDOT. So I'm just asking the board to approve this funding allotment increase.
Any questions?
And those additional funds, that's SPLOST.
Yes, sir. It'll be SPOS funds.
Thanks so much, George. New business number 6 is discuss action to accept the following subdivision streets for perpetual maintenance by the county. These are all located in Post 2, kind of connected roads. It's called the the White Creek Phase 2 Alpha. It's the Woodwind Drive, the White Creek Loop, the White Creek Drive, and the Holly Court. Ms. Lippmann to report.
Morning, everyone. Yes, those 4 streets you just listed, they've been inspected by Community Development, Transportation, and Water System and have been certified for compliance with all our regulations, and we recommend having them added to the list of streets for perpetual maintenance. And just to let you know, it's 4,630 linear feet.
What was that number again?
4,630.
Any questions for Ann? Okay, we'll move on to new business number 7, which is discuss action to approve the service agreement with Datamax to print water and sewer invoices. And Ms. Pollard's going to cover that one.
The water system is currently going through some changes in software to better serve the customers. And this will change the format. Currently, we're creating a file, and we send that file to Datamax. We've used them since 2008, and they house the bills for us, and if we need it, we get it from them. This is going to allow us to create the bill and send the PDF copy to Datamax. They'll print the bill, and it's got more color, it's more appealing, so it'll be more attractive for them to send out to the customers. It is a slight increase in cost. The envelopes, the paper, all have increased since 2008, and the difference was about 1/10 of a cent per piece. So one thing that the water system will be doing to reduce the cost is currently they're sending out delinquent notices, and the capabilities of the new software will allow us to notify you. So if once the database is built and we have your number, we can send you a text, we can call you to let you know that your water's scheduled for disconnect, offer you options for payment, and hopefully that will, in the end, reduce the cost of printing, is the goal. So, any questions? This contract is an annual contract. It auto-renews each year unless we decide to terminate.
Thank you very much. That completes the new business items, and that's the conclusion of all our regular business. Executive session is not required today. no one has signed up for public participation on non-agenda items. So before we adjourn, I'd like to ask the commissioners if they have any announcements or comments that they would like to share. And we'll start down here on the right with Commissioner Post 1.
Thank you, Dave. I think the only thing I would mention, it was alluded to earlier, but early voting is an option on the first floor of this building. You can do that safely and they'll take care of you. But absentee is also an option, and anyone who has questions can contact the elections office for that.
Sandy?
I had the opportunity to go out with Lori Ashmore to the reservoir on Tuesday. Let me tell you what, that place is out of this world. You wouldn't believe what we have right here in Paulding County. I am so proud that we do have it. It does have water in it. You can tell where the fingers are with the water in it. Had the opportunity to go up on a bridge and look over the acreage, and it's very exciting to see something like that here.
And Steve Caker can't wait to get fish in it, right?
You can't wait.
How about you, Mr. Hart?
Yeah, I had old Gary take us around the jail the other day. I was just visiting. So, yeah, but it was the facility. It's just, man, it overwhelmed me just seeing all the tricks that they had put into that building and the way that it's going to run and this, that, and the other. I think it's going to utilize, it's going to help us, way down the future. And also my next one, I would defer back to you, just to remind you about the state of the county.
Okay.
I took my glory. Sandy, did you have a permit to go to post 4? I did. Okay, I just want to make sure. But no, it is amazing out there, so I'd like for all the citizens to take some time to go out there and look at it. It's amazing. And also went to the jail. It's huge. I think my legs are still sore from walking around it, so.
Were you just visiting too, or was that?
So far.
So far.
I tried to arrest
Gary told me he had a room just for you.
Right, I know.
Future accommodations.
Future accommodations.
And Chuck mentioned the state of the county. That will occur out at the airport for distancing assistance next Thursday, a week from today. Box lunches, if you want to register for that, I'm sure Ms. Hanby and the Chamber Board would appreciate your being there. We would appreciate it's going to be a collective effort, as we did last year, where each of the post commissioners and the county administrator offers new things that have happened over the course of the last 12 months. I would like to also close with an announcement that our airport has $50 million worth of airplanes now that are housed at our airport, and that equates to over 230 of the average value home in Paulding County. So that's definitely a benefit in the property tax side that we're able to appreciate now and have a better tax balance. So no further comments. I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Commissioner Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Stover. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0, and we stand adjourned.